What's up everyone, welcome back to the beginner breakdown series in King of Fighters 14. In this episode we're going to go over Ramon. If you've never seen a beginner breakdown before, this video series is intended more for beginners and players who are just trying to learn the basics of a character. With that in mind, let's get started. We're going to go over far normals first. Here's far light punch. It's a mid, we can block both crouching or standing. It's a tiny bit negative on block, it's not punishable, has really good range, and it won't whiff on any crouchers in the game. Far light kick is another mid, and we can block both crouching or standing. It's a little bit more negative on block, has about comparable range to far light punch. Really quick poke. Far heavy punch is a mid, and we can block both crouching or standing. It's a little bit negative on block. Very difficult to punish because of the pushback on block. It has pretty good range on it. And you can super cancel it. Far heavy kick is a mid, we can block both crouching or standing. You can super cancel it. It's a little bit negative on block, not really punishable. Has a lot of startup on it. It will whiff on crouchers in the game, as you see right there, unless they're a big bodied character. It's not a bad anti-air if you got a good read on a jump in, but only from a distance really. If from up close it has too much startup, you'll probably get hit by a jumping normal. Next up we got close normals. Here's close light punch. It's a mid, we blocked both crouching or standing. It's just a tiny bit plus on a block. And you can super and special cancel it. Close light kick is a low, it can only be blocked crouching. It's a little bit negative on block, pretty difficult to punish. And you can super and special cancel it. Close heavy punch is a mid, we can block both crouching or standing. You can super and special cancel into whatever. And it forces the opponent to stand up, which is important for special moves like that. They'll just whiff if you use a close heavy kick. Speaking of which, close heavy kick is a mid, and we block both crouching or standing. It's a bit negative on block, but it does push back a ton, making the punish really difficult. It'd have to be like a really fast far normal. It has a little bit more startup than heavy punch. Close heavy punch, that is. So you probably want to stick with close heavy punch anyway. And like I said before, close heavy punch stands opponents. You can super and special cancel close heavy kick. You can chain into crouching light punch or crouching light kick from close light kick. Next up we've got crouching normals. Here's crouching light punch. That is a mid, and we block both crouching or standing. It's unpunishable negative. You can chain up to 3 in a row from point blank. And you can super and special cancel into whatever. Crouching light kick is a low, it can only block crouching. You can't chain or link any more light kicks together. You can go from standing light kick into crouching light kick for 2 lows, or go from standing light kick into crouching light punch and then move on from there. Crouching heavy punch is a mid, and we block both crouching or standing. Has really good range, bit of startup on it, it's even on block, and you can super and special cancel it. Crouching heavy kick is a low, it can only be blocked crouching. It's a little bit negative on block, and you can super and special cancel it to try to make it a little bit safer. One way you can make it a little bit safer is by canceling into his feint run. Next up, let's go over jumping normals. Here's jumping light punch, light kick, heavy punch, and heavy kick. They all work as standard jump-ins. You can get whatever you need off of them as long as you time it right. The standout buttons are jumping heavy punch and then jumping heavy kick. Both of those can cross up. You can use them as short hop or jump-in buttons. I would probably suggest sticking to jumping heavy punch or short hop heavy punch. Has a really good hitbox, and it's really easy to cross up with it. You can convert off of it afterwards pretty easily. Ramon's jumping bullet bug attack, which you can execute by hitting heavy punch and heavy kick while in the air. Looks like that. It's pretty standard. It's plus on block if you get the opponent to block it. If you want to hit an opponent who's crouching with it, you're going to have to hit it a lot later than you think you have to. If you hit it too early, it's just going to whiff over an opponent, especially if you're neutral jumping. You have to kind of hit it as you're coming down. It's not a bad air-to-air option either, you just have to hit it early. We're going to go over Ramon's command normals next. If you're jumping backwards into the wall, you can hit up 4 and you'll jump off of it. And you have all of your regular air options off of that wall jump. Ramon has another command normal, it's down, forward, and light kick. Looks like this. This is a low attack if you use it raw, not too useful by itself. Has a lot of startup, but it does have really good range if you just throw it out like that as a low poke. Probably won't be using it like that though. You can cancel into this and use it as like a combo extender. It only really combos from anything with a lot of hit stun on it, so it's like its heavy buttons. And if you cancel into it like that, you can super and special cancel it. You can even get off of like far range stuff like crouching heavy punch. It moves them really far forward. It makes a lot of stuff work. It's very negative on block if you just don't do anything. You can cancel into his feint run if you need to make it safe. Ramon's last command normal is forward and light punch. So this is an overhead. If the opponent is crouch blocking, they'll get hit by it. You can combo into it for some guaranteed damage, but not really that useful. Not too useful because you can't super or special cancel if you cancel into it. It is pretty safe though. It's useful for opening up opponents who are crouch blocking a lot, because it has this follow up afterwards. It gives you a little bit of extra damage, and that little second hit you can super cancel it. So you can spend some meter to get some guaranteed damage off of an overhead, and that follow up command you just hit down, down, and either punch as soon as you hit with the attack. And Ramon's blow up attack, which you can execute by hitting heavy punch and heavy kick while on the ground, looks like this. It's pretty good range on it. It pushes back a lot. It's very difficult to punish if you even can punish it. And you can super and special cancel if you wanted to try to make it safer. One option to make it safer is his run feint. It's very quickly go over throws. Here's forward throw. It's a hard knockdown. It gives you enough time to run in if you need to. And back throw is also our knockdown. Same situation. You can run in if you need to. We're going to start going to Ramon's special moves. His first one is half circle forward plus punch. Looks like this. It is a command grab. The light punch and heavy punch are the same thing. There isn't really anything you get off of it other than the hard knockdown. You can combo into it from heavy punch buttons or heavy buttons and light buttons. You just have to be within range for the command grab to hit. The X version is much quicker. The exact same combo rules apply to that. Next special move he has is a DP motion. It's forward, down, down, forward plus kick. Looks like that. It's a light kick version of it. The heavy kick version of it has a little bit more startup and he goes forward a little bit more. The X is the quickest and he goes the furthest forward. This is probably a special move you'll be comboing into the most. It's the most versatile and the most comboable out of all the special moves. With that said, you can only get it off of anything with heavy hit stun, so his heavy buttons or his command normal. And that applies to the light kick version and the EX version. The heavy kick version of it has the most startup on it, so you can't really combo into it. So there's a gap there. So you can be pretty good at beating senseless smashing, and not only that, but the heavy kick version of it is an overhead. So if the opponent is blocking low, that will hit them. So what happens after you land either the light kick version of it or the heavy kick version of it? If you input another forward, down, down, forward plus either kick, as soon as the first kick lands, you'll get that dive, so you get a little bit extra damage. And there's one last follow-up there too. You can pick them back up afterwards for extra damage, and you don't get any frame advantage or anything like that after the pickup. You're both kind of reset at neutral. You can decide to super cancel if you'd like to for extra damage. And you cannot do any of the follow-ups if it is blocked. The EX version is really useful for max mode combos. It's probably your most beginner-friendly max mode combo starter. On hit, it crumples the opponent and it lets you hit them afterwards. So I really hope you like inputting DP motions, because that's a pretty common max mode combo I've seen. The same rules apply to the EX version if you're trying to combo into it. It only combos from anything with high hit stun. So low hit stun buttons, it won't combo. These kicks can be pretty difficult to punish. So at point blank, they push back quite a distance. And they can only be really punished by like a really far, fast normal. But if you start using them in block moves like that, they become a lot harder to punish. Just to reiterate, the light kick version and the EX version are both mids, and you block both crouching or standing. The heavy kick version is an overhead. Next special move he has is half circle forward plus kick. It's this run right there. That's a command grab. The light kick and heavy kick version are pretty much exactly the same. They do the same amount of damage. He covers the same screen distance. And so if it happens to whiff, there is recovery on it and he's completely vulnerable. It's useful for catching overzealous runners, so if they're just mindlessly running in on you, you can use that to catch them off guard as they're running in, especially since it looks exactly like his normal forward run. And if the opponent starts getting scared about getting grabbed by this all the time, they can start jumping, and if they start doing predictable jumps, you can run in and fake the command grab, then kind of air to air them with something. The X version works exactly the same way. It's just quicker, and it's completely full screen and does a little bit more damage. And if you need to cancel the run, you just hit both light punch and light kick. And that cancel does have a little bit of recovery on it. You can be hit during that. Next special move he has is circle back plus either punch. If you do light punch, it's a flying drop kick. If you do heavy punch, it is this, it's like a feint basically. Let's just go over the drop kick portion first. So it's really negative on block, so don't go getting that blocked. Not only that, but it whiffs on croucher, so just don't throw it out. Also, you can only combo into it from anything with heavy hit stun on it. So like his heavy buttons or his command roll. Then you can also hold light punch down while you do the motion, and then he'll just kind of walk back and forth a little awkwardly, a little erratically, and then eventually he will do the drop kick. You can let go and he'll do the drop kick earlier. It does not change the frame data or anything like that. It's still really negative. You probably won't be using this too often unless you need something easier to do off of, for combos instead of his little chain grabs. The heavy punch version of it is useful. It's basically a feint. If you hold the button down, he'll just keep walking back and forth. He will stop eventually. This feint is useful for making certain things safe, or at least a little safer rather. It's not perfectly safe. There is some recovery on it before you can start blocking. So one example I used early is his sweep. It's usually a little bit more negative than most of his buttons, but you can feint cancel it, and then it's a little bit safer. Next special move he has is circle back plus either kick. So light kick and heavy kick do the same thing. He runs to the edge of the screen and he jumps off of it. And then during the jump off point, you can input a specific set of commands and he'll do different things. Before going into those commands, one thing to note is he does have to run to the edge of the screen, so the further you are from it, the longer he has to run to the edge of the screen before he jumps off, which makes it a little bit less useful if you're like mid-screen, because it's very easy to see Ramon running away from you, because he doesn't have a backwards run, he has a backdash. So if he's doing that, you know something's coming. The closer you are to the corner, the harder it'll be to react to it. Also, if the opponent's moving forward while you're running backwards, it kind of extends the amount of time Ramon has to run if you're mid-screen before he reaches the corner or the wall. While he's running towards the corner, but before he hits the wall, you can hit both lights, so light punch and light kick, and he'll stop. There is recovery on that, so you can get hit out of that. This is a pretty situation, and I don't think as useful as any of his other commands, but you can hit up forward to do a feint jump. It does have a decent amount of landing recovery though. If you don't hit any buttons at all, he'll just jump off with that headbutt, and that is a jumping attack, so the opponent has to stand block it. You don't get anything off of it afterwards other than the hard knockdown. Also, depending on how it's spaced, it can be punished with like a fast far normal. If you input light kick and heavy kick at the same time while he hits the wall, you'll jump off of it with a cross chop. That cross chop is useful for going through projectiles. So if you can time it right, you could go through somebody that's zoning a lot. Especially if you're in the corner, since it's requires less time for Ramon to run to the wall and jump off of it. But mid-screen might be a little bit difficult to jump through fireballs. You don't really get anything off of it other than the damage and the knockback. It kind of resets the situation and sends the opponent full screen. Depending on how it's spaced, it can be pretty difficult to punish. It can be punished with with really fast far normals, and it's a mid, so it blocks both crouching or standing. And in specific ranges as well, like it just whiff completely on crouching opponents. The last follow-up you can input is circle forward and then either punch when he's coming off the wall. And you'll do that body splash. That is actually command grab, it just doesn't go full screen really. The normal version of it has a pretty limited or a very specific range at which you can grab the opponent. The closer they are to the corner, it's pretty easy to hit them with it. It can be useful for catching opponents off guard like that. From full screen, they have to move forward a little bit. If they're completely full screen, it's going to whiff like I showed you at the beginning of this part. If the opponent has you in the corner, this can be useful to escape the corner and put them in the corner. You just don't want to use this if the opponent is pressuring you very hard. because it does have startup on it, considerable startup for Ramon to run to the wall and jump off of it. If the opponent's hitting you with a lot of fast buttons, or their pressure is pretty close to airtight, then you're probably going to get hit during the run. But if they're being a little bit lazy in their corner pressure, or just not very active, you can definitely hit them with that. And kind of reverse the situation how you got them in the corner. And again, you can input down, down, and a punch after the initial grab to stand them back up, and you can super cancel that hit. And as you can imagine and see right there, don't whiff that command grab. If it does, it has a ton of recovery on it. The X version of this has all the exact same follow-ups. It's just really, really quick. And it also does more damage as well. The X version can be a little bit more useful in the corner than the regular version just because it's quicker, so you're less likely to get hit by a masher. Also, the X version of like all these moves can hit pretty much full screen. Last special move he has is a little bit of a different one than usual. It's a down, down, light punch, and then there's a gap, and then you hit heavy punch. So you're not hitting light punch and heavy punch at the same time, you're hitting one and then the next one really quick. So if you like use an arcade stick, it's basically like you're pianoing light punch into heavy punch. And you get this somersault. And if you land it, you can hit down, down, and either punch, and you stand them right up. And it's just like all the other special moves that stand up like that. You don't have any frame advantage, you're pretty much both at neutral, but you can super cancel that follow-up. It's just another way to try to mix up the opponent and get some extra damage if you're not using this to open them up crouching, or open them up for crouch blocking a lot. Because the somersault is a special move, you can go into it from a special cancelable button. Kind of like that. Maybe you can try to mix up the opponent. So if they're used to seeing you do that a lot into like that, and they're blocking it a lot, you could opt to try to mix them up. And also this special move can cross up. Well, depending on how it's spaced, it can be pretty difficult to punish on block. Because it pushes back a little bit, it can usually be punished with like a fast far normal at a lot of ranges. But the opponent has to kind of be paying attention and be pretty quick with the punish for that. And you can be mashed out of it if the opponent is just like mashing buttons. Let's go over his super moves next. He has half circle back twice and then punch. And that is a command grab. It has a whiff animation. Next one he has is core circle back, half circle forward plus kick. And again, he does have to run to the corner of the, or like the edge of the screen before he jumps off. And his climax super is half circle back twice and then both kicks. And that is a command grab as well. If you wanted to cancel a super into another super, you want to go from the kick super into the punch super. And you want to cancel on that 8th hit. If you want to cancel a super into a climax super, it's the same way. You want to go from the kick super into the climax super. I'll give you some quick combos to get you started. Not a lot of variety where you can get started with Ramon, especially since a lot of his moves can only be comboed from like heavy hit stun buttons. So the thing you'll probably be learning at like all levels is close heavy punch into that command normal. And then you can cancel it into that special move to keep it relatively safe. If that's really hard, you can go into that drop kick. Just be wary that if that's blocked, that's very punishable. You can also go to his command grab from that as well. Just if the opponent blocks it and you commit to that, you'll just whiff right in their face. Not a lot of easy stuff from crouching, unfortunately. You can do something like that, like close standing light kick and a close light punch, and you can cancel that into command grab. Be sure to check out the special moves section, that way you know how to convert some of these special moves into more damage and kind of what all your options are. Alright everybody, thank you for watching the beginner breakdown for Ramon. As always, thank you so much for your patience between these long gaps in episodes. And let's quickly go to member select. So next episode we're going to go over Angel. And hopefully I do a good job with that. This character kind of dreaded doing the most just because of her command list is pretty daunting for me. I've always avoided using her. But this time I'll try to learn her and see what I can relay back to you guys and hopefully help out some low level players, some beginners. Regardless, thank you for watching and I'll see you next episode.